Well, Hong Kong and Honolulu are very different cities, but one thing they do share is a housing crisis. A growing team of young leaders is looking for new solutions that will help them stay in the places where they grew up. Emily Cristobal continues our ongoing series on housing.
Thousands of miles away in Hong Kong, just like here at home, younger generations are bearing the brunt of the housing crisis. But amid the frustration, there's new hope. Thanks to the next generation.
I do really want to live here in the future, but I just feel very discouraged. I feel like I cannot live here.
Dalen Calistro is just 16 years old, a student at Waipahu High School, already worrying about the future of housing. It's a topic that she and her friends and classmates often discuss.
I feel like I'm being pushed away. I don't want to leave this place, but the prices are very high.
The high cost isn't only an issue on Oahu, but a growing burden across the islands.
I really want to go back to Maui, live, raise a family there, and it is very scary.
Jan Victoria San Agustin was born and raised in Kahului. She's a sophomore at Oregon State University, where she's working to get a degree in electrical and computer engineering. She's studying hard so she can one day find a job back home to afford to live in Hawaii. But housing hasn't always been easy for her and her family.
I lived in my childhood house until I was 8th grade. It was originally a 3-bedroom house, and there was the 10 of us. Me and my parents and my brother, we were in one room, and then my grandparents was in the second room, and then my uncle's family was in the third room.
She says not having enough space for too many people is a daily occurrence in her community. That's why she shared her story on Housing Hawaii's Future, a growing movement led by young locals to create housing opportunities for Hawaii's next generation.
I know some families that have to have rooms so they can have more room for their families, and it's just always like, scraping by.
While subsectioning rooms isn't common practice in Hawaii, it is in Hong Kong, so much so that it has led to health hazards and public outcry. The scale of the problem was exactly why a housing delegation of Hawaii lawmakers and leaders traveled to Hong Kong and Singapore recently. They wanted to see places that had found solutions to housing shortages and what happens if nothing is done. Hayden Yao says the dearth of affordable housing in Hong Kong falls disproportionately on youth. The 17-year-old Hong Konger started a social impact clothing brand that raises awareness about the housing conditions many experience in his hometown.
Being in an environment where it's just a bunk bed, the toilet bowl's next to your bed, and then your kitchen's right next to your toilet bowl, all your stuff is crammed around. It's just a really tight living environment. This is a situation that more and more countries and cities are going to find themselves in at a certain point.
While population density in Hong Kong is far higher than what's seen in Hawaii, at its core, the same issues persist: land, cost, zoning, and a lack of affordable housing.
There's a lot of old family houses that are being sold and then renovated and then sold for, 2-3 times more than what they were bought for. And of course, it's not going to be, local families that are affording those flipped homes.
Pono Estores shared his story on Housing Hawaii's Future. He says nowadays his own neighborhood doesn't even really feel like the home he remembers.
The people that are moving in, none of them are familiar to me. It's people from all around the continental US or other places in the world. And it's not only my neighborhood too. It's just kind of across Wailua, sort of this gentrification.
The same is happening across the islands, including in Kailua, where Leah de los Santos grew up. She and her family had to move her grandparents out of their family home, where they'd lived for decades, when the costs of rent went up.
That was another piece of us, our family. It was home, but we were kind of forced out. My grandparents were forced out. They just couldn't afford it anymore.
And as a native Hawaiian who is lucky to still call this place home, she emphasizes the importance of keeping Kanaka in their homeland.
I'm one of the lucky ones, meaning that everyone should be here. All Kanaka Maoli should be here. Staying on our homelands is everything. I mean, the entire root of our culture and our identity and belonging to our community is rooted in aloha aina and our connection to the land.
As housing becomes more daunting, that's why the younger generation believes it's so important to speak out now.
I honestly worried about every day, and I don't think a girl who just turned 20 should be having to worry about where she's going to live or where she's going to buy a house, and if she can. It's important for us to speak out and speak up because, it's our future and the future of our kids and our grandchildren and all those that come after us.
To listen to more stories on Hawaii's youth on housing, scan the QR code below. This is Emily Cristobal for Hawaii News Now.